We have our next panel discussion on optimizing sales experiences, a roadmap for on-ground success. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you could request, can we have a great round of applause for our esteemed speakers, please? All of you, once I announce the names. Aditya Singh Chauhan, Category Head, Sunflame Enterprises, a subsidiary of V-Guard Industries. Bhagwan K. Bindiginwarvale, Executive Vice President, Strategy, Planning, Brand and Communications, VE Commercial Vehicles. उनके तो नाम में ही ईश्वर है. Can we have a round of applause for all of them here? Can we have the seats here as well, please? I did, sir. Almost. Shailendra Singh, Product Group Head, Kenstar. Udit Malhotra, Head of Marketing, MG Motors India. Arun Subramaniam, Co-founder, Sharpsell. And Devesh Gupta, Content Lead, Product and Community, ET Brand Equity Sessions Moderator, sir. Could we have Devesh, if you could join us on stage, please? And I think we'll have to have a lot of chairs on stage. And let's have a huge round of applause for all our panelists. They're going to have a discussion on optimizing sales experiences, a roadmap for on-ground success. Adolf Hitler was reviled by everyone, but said a very nice thing: if you win, you don't need to explain. If you lose, you'll not be there to explain. So I hope we have a winning discussion here and people draw something good out of it. Though we had an interesting take about what George Bernard Shaw used to say: the world moves forward on the basis of actions of uncertain men. I think now times Donald Trump is taking it too seriously. So jokes apart, over to the panel discussion, and I request Devesh if you could just lead the panelists onto the dais and be the session moderator. And can we have a huge round of applause for all of them, please? I'm your host, Madhukar Malhotra. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So I think Shashank had set the stage for, for a very wonderful discussion, and he left us with, he shared a lot of insights, and really liked the football insight that actually he gave, that, if my team has won the match, I may be in a good mood and I'm, open to spend more money, buying extra accessories. I'll keep that in mind, when, Udit, I'll keep that in mind, when I walk into MG Motors, that my team has lost the match, so that I don't spend a little extra. Aditya, let's start with you, okay? So when we talk about in-store experiences, okay, over the years, how has the how has the customer's expectations evolved? Let's begin with the customer expectations first. How has they evolved for the in-store experiences?
See, over the years, expectation has been increased drastically. Earlier, if you see the customers, they do not need so many things. Now, customer need personalized things. कि ये भी होना चाहिए, वो भी होना चाहिए. If in terms of warranty, in terms of specification, like थोड़ी देर पहले what we were discussing, if I am a customer, I need something extra. Now, so I am Aditya, so I am working in a consumer durable industry. And in consumer durable industry, there are so many brands. Most of them are selling same products. They are getting from a supplier or different suppliers they are taking, and they are giving same products. But what customer wants something different from a different brand. If you are choosing an X brand, any brand, the top 3 brand or any brand, if you are choosing, you need something extra. So what extra you can give? So the extra is, their expectation is like it applies on the generation G also. So now the decision makers are Gen Zs. So they also want something extra. That is in terms of warranty, the personalized thing. Like Apple ने अभी recently what they have done, if you buy any earphone या उनका कुछ भी आप, if you buy from Apple website, they'll engrave the name of customer, अपनी wife का या किसी का नाम भी engrave कर सकते हो. So that is another thing. So that thing customer are expecting. on-time service. On-time service mean if you are thinking about service, customer service person आपके दरवाजे पे होना चाहिए. That type of service customers are now expecting. You know, so these things are significantly evolving. I'm sorry. So that is there nowadays. Yeah.
So maybe I'll just check. So one of the questions that I'm just going to tie to what Shashank said is, so some of what you talked about are core offering, what is the product offering, and this is things that I can discover there. But given that, let's say specifically in your industry, the differentiation from a, let's say, core product perspective is not that high.
Yeah.
A lot of times the moment of truth is when, let's say, a customer walks in. I mean, a customer who's buying online, I'm leaving it out because the focus is on what happens to people who walk in. So how is that difference going to be perceived by this customer at the moment of truth when they walk in? So are you seeing any difference from, let's say, specifically when, let's say, most of us know that the core product differentiation is not there.
Right.
How do people expect the
so
showroom experience?
I'll divide this in two parts. So there are two things. The first thing is pricing things. You see, so if you compare, now we are comparing two things. One is e-commerce thing and another is in-shop buying things, right? In-shop buying things means if you are going in any LFR या Vijay Sales या कहीं पे भी हम जाके purchase करते हैं, there is an in-shop demonstrator. He'll explain each and everything. He'll give a discount, upfront discount. He'll say, sir, you have this bank credit card, you will get 15% discount and all these things. Online, you have to search this thing. So that is one thing. Coming to your question, see what happening is, abhi thodi der pehle we were discussing the same thing, and see what is happening. Companies are facing this challenge now. The price things in festive time mein the prices are, I think, more than 20%. They decrease the price by more than 20%. In some products they are decreasing by 25%. And every other company is facing in consumer durable the same challenge. And now what companies are doing, they are doing the DMDC thing. Different model ke liye different product DMDC thing. So different model, different channel. For e-commerce now they are placing some products with X name. Almost similar products they are placing in LFRs, in stores ke liye, with the same price what they are offering in e-commerce. So that is the things which companies are now doing in consumer durable products specifically.
Shailendra, do you concur with what he is mentioning?
Yeah, exactly. Aditya is right. So even adding to this, so now DMDC also, customer is quite smart. So customer is now comparing that. For example, there is again the electronics industry example. So a 1.8 liter rice cooker. Okay, so customer is watching that these all are the specifications, and this 1.8 liter rice cooker we are getting from different e-com sites or say LFR stores, say X price 3,000 rupees, but the same in the store we are getting say 3,500 rupees. So now companies like us making another strategies that we will as an organization will not offer 1.8 liter capacity either to the e-com platform or say 1.5 liter for the e-com channel and 1.8 for the trade exclusive. So there will be a price parity also and the different capacity model as well. So that might now a new strategy that is basically giving a more chance to the consumer that there is no price disparity there in the e-com as well as in the trade.
And adding to this thing, so now AI also plays a very important role in this thing. So now, I am working as a category head. If I have to finalize two products, one for the offline channel like LFR and regional retails ke liye or general trade ke liye, and one for e-commerce, what would I do? So I'll take the data with the help of AI and say for example, if a customer have to buy instant water heater, now instant water heaters are coming in 5 liter capacity, 5.5 liter capacity, right? So when I asked AI कि कौन सा वाला capacity ज़्यादा बिकता है over e-commerce, so वहाँ से I get to know 5 liter का demand बहुत ज़्यादा है, So what I have done, I have launched one 5.5 liter in general trade and 5 liter in e-commerce. Both the products were same. Actually it was 5.5 liter, but I have to launch थोड़ा उसका capacity कम करके I have to launch. So that is also one thing. That is also differentiation one can make. So it is happening in consumer durable. I'm not sure what is happening in automobile because that is entirely a different.
Basically, it's about creating different products for different channels, so
Right.
that there is a price parity also. And when the customer walks in, if he's comparing the products across two different channels,
Right.
then he is able to understand that he's getting a very specific
Specific thing, and companies are twisting in warranty also. Now, if you buy from there, you will get this warranty.
Right.
From here, you will get that warranty.
Even adding to this warranty part, so one of the organizations like Philips, so naming them, so what they generally do, so they are generally offering additional warranty. If you will register yourself, you will fill all your details. So again, the database, as sir was telling, for the database is very important. So that is the backbone for the AI as well. So if you are buying a product of Philips, say from any XYZ brick and mortar store, so at that time you will get normal with that bill, say 2 year of the warranty. But going home, registering your product over the Philips site, then you will get additional 1 year warranty. So what Philips got, so he got that consumer, that database, that loyal customer of that Philips product. In terms of that customer got another 1 year additional warranty. So now his product warranty is as in total 3 year, 2 plus 1.
so that is a privilege of shopping in store.
In store, yes.
Okay. Now coming to Bhagwan, auto category. Auto category doesn't have the privilege of consumer comparing it on an Amazon versus comparing the price on how the store. So when a customer walks in in your store, and Udit, this question is for you also. I mean, like, how are you ensuring that their experience is great, okay, and the trust factor which needs to be built, because he would have anyways researched about the product that he wishes to buy, but to ensure that the trust is there so that the in-store experience is good and the conversion happens sooner. How are you ensuring that? Let's begin with you. Yeah.
Thank you. So first of all, I mean, congratulations to ET Auto and ET Brand Equity on organizing this event. It's great to have it. I represent We Commercial Vehicles, a 15-year joint venture between the Volvo Group and Eicher Motors. So I represent two purpose-driven brands, right? So if you buy a Volvo, you know that you're buying into a brand that supports quality, safety, and concern for the environment. I mean, period. If you buy an Eicher, you partner with a brand that promises a partnership for prosperity. We talk about partnering prosperity. And one of the differences between me, my business today, and my co-panelists is that I really kind of look at all of this at the back end. So today, with what's happening in India, with logistics and the focus on logistics and improving it, reducing logistics cost to less than single digits as % of GDP, there's a lot of focus on efficiency. So while customers, let's say in the consumer industries, kind of research product and buy it basis a multitude of factors, there's an increasing sophistication in terms of why a customer buys or operates a truck or a bus, right? And that is you'd be surprised to know that, I mean, they know the cost of operations down to the paisa, right? So that's the level of granularity at which customers today operate. And just an interesting factoid, I mean, Shashank spoke about cars, right? So if you're lucky, right? I mean, each of you who has a car, you probably are lucky if you do, 7,000-10,000 kilometers a year on your car, right? So some of our trucks do anywhere from 18 to 25,000 kilometers in a month, right? And that means that they need to be running for as many as 22 hours a day, right? The driver gets in and out, the truck keeps running. And that calls for a whole different approach to understanding the vehicle, understanding the operation. And that is where I think, you're seeing significant differentiation come in the commercial vehicle industry, right? So it's a very small subset of the 1.5 billion people in India who actually own, have owned, or will own a truck or a bus. So that's not my problem. My problem is, how do I kind of deliver value to my customer, and how can I leverage data? So we were the first out in the industry in India to connect all our vehicles about 5 years ago. So all of our trucks and buses are connected, and we get a hell of a lot of data in terms of panic braking, of course, but also in terms of where the vehicle's running, what kind of load it's taking, where is it getting stuck, actually sensor data. How is the engine running? How is the gearbox running? Do I see any abnormalities? And I use, I mean, all of the standard AI stuff to kind of figure out if it's within parameter or outside. And I can actually tell my customer today, hey, you know what? You can either, so give them 3 choices. Stop now, fix it yourself, or bring it at your next service. We will have the parts available. So there's a convergence of online, offline, in that if it's a stop now, we will send somebody to you, fix the vehicle where it is, and then you go on your way. If it's at the next service, we make sure the parts are available, the service mechanic is trained and ready to take care of stuff there. So if we look at how we see this, I mean, in the CV industry, it's more about making sure that we tackle the back end, and that's where loyalty is built. The view of the product, where it's used, defines, so to speak, its residual value, resale values, right? So all these things play a part, and that's where, so to speak, we see a lot more effort going in. Then, of course, I mean, we of course recognize our customers. I mean, all those things do happen. But unlike, let us say, many other categories, the purchase of a commercial vehicle is a fairly considered decision, right? So that's what defines it. That's what allows for it, and that's where it goes.
So just a quick, just to deep dive a little, because I understand most of your customers make decisions based on economic factors than matter of convenience, which, let's say, in a passenger vehicle or a consumer durable, you're going to look far more at what an individual is going to use. And again, in your case, your user and buyer are not the same people. for
Not
the most part.
necessarily.
So in that case, when your sellers go to customers, it could be they could fall in one of these 3 buckets. Either, I'm going to somebody who's already my fleet owner, they're looking at expansion. So then I can showcase a lot of data and you can do that, which I'm assuming is a very natural progression. But what happens when your people go to, let's say, other fleet owners, who are buying with somebody else? So what happens during that sale when you have no specific data about that?
It's a great question, right? And I think that ultimately what we do different from the industry is value sell, right? So we don't just go and say, here's a truck, this is the price, take it or leave it. That's not how it works. What we do is we obviously understand the customer's operation, right? I mean, so is the customer in a mine, or is a customer operating, let us say, a construction truck, or is a customer moving vegetables from a farm outside Delhi to the mandi in Delhi, or is the customer delivering your Amazon packets home to you every day, right? So we have data sets available, and what we make sure there is that we have what I would call homogenized data available that allows for a first conversation. And typically the sales process is a fairly involved process. So after this first conversation, the customer says, yeah, but that's your data, right? So what we do typically is follow that up with a trial where the customer is able to validate what I would call a general data set for their specific needs, and that's how it kind of progresses. So to your point, we do kind of provide our sales teams with general data for a specific application, whatever that might be, and then take it from there in terms of making it more and more specific for a specific customer. And then, of course, today, we are able to kind of, with GPS and all that, get geographic specific data, right? So we know how a truck will perform, let us say, in a marble mine, contra a granite mine, or in a coal mine. And those specific data sets tend to play out as they do.
So, yeah. So sorry, I'm just continuing with that. So in this case, I'm just trying to relate this to passenger vehicles, because when your sellers go to customers, the number of use cases are fairly defined, I would say. It's a finite number of use cases, and it might be easier to help them understand what it is. But when a passenger vehicle customer walks in, how do you ensure that your seller is able to relate to the customer? Because nobody's going to, there's no defined use case, and people can't even define why they are buying a specific model. I mean, a lot of it is in the mind. So given that, you don't know what is coming on that side for a lot of times, and more so your seller is not from the same household as the buyer, very different households. How do you kind of connect the dots in your case?
So firstly, thank you for the question. My name is Udit. I represent MG. I head marketing for MG Motor India. So, going back to your question, see, in the automotive space, when we are looking at the final touch point of going inside the showroom, but let's let's go back before the customers entering the showroom actually. So there are approximately close to 21 touch points that are there in the life cycle of a customer when they are entering a automotive showroom, specifically when it comes to the passenger vehicle. And out of those 20 odd touch points, approximately 14 odd touch points are already digitized. Now, what does this mean exactly? So this means that by the time the customer is entering my showroom, he or she has cohesively researched and made up their mind before they are in market. And normally the trend that resides is, and this is post-COVID, I'm telling, not pre-COVID, you are within the same category of car. Let's say Hector as an example, you are also having an interest in 3 to 4 other car lines. So while all of this is happening across these touch points is, the moment the customer is interacting with any of our touch points, be it offline or online, how we are harnessing that data is that what is the touch point that he is consuming, that is point number 1. From which touch point, what kind of information that the customer has already consumed. And like Shashank also said, there is a SVOC that they are calling it in their system, but we call it as a part of our customer 360. And in our lead scoring model, what we exactly do is, let's take the source as the website, for example. So there we have an intrinsic modeling from the point of the customer time being spent. Let's say you spend 6 minutes building a car on my car configurator today. So I already know which car you were looking out for, which variant you built for yourself, or let's say which even the color that you like, the color preferences that you have chosen. This data is actually available using your phone number when you enter the showroom. Now the other use case here is, you just came into the website, you browse certain pages. Let's say you went to the MG Shield page. So one indicator for me there is that, okay, this guy is interested in cost of ownership and warranty. He or she actually is a cost-driven customer while they are exploring a premium SUV. There may be another kind of customer like me, for example, who's more savvy on gizmos. And, he would say, okay, I want to know what are the 55 odd connected car features in this car. So here what we are doing is, we are synthesizing these data touch points, and in our lead scoring model for our sales consultant, we are passing on the data back to the sales consultant, so that, for example, if Udit goes into the showroom, he has an iSmart pitch on technology vis-a-vis an Arushi going into the showroom who's concerned about the running cost of the car. That experience can be personalized. Typically, with all these data points from digital, social, or even offline, the essence is, while the humanization part and the sales training is essence to any automotive player, how this data point is actually helping you change your elevator pitch. So this is one use case that I have just elaborated. There are approximately 20 to 30 odd use cases that you can pick up from any standpoint. Maybe like, somebody gave an example that in a South market, for example, EV penetration is higher. So how do I pitch an EV to a Bangalore techie versus to an NCR guy who needs a car with a larger stance and is not interested in an electric vehicle? So all these data points, customer 360, lead scoring, but making it as a usable data to the sales consultant to build it as a part of the elevator pitch is something that we've been championing since the launch of our products. That's one view of it.
I think that helps. Sorry.
So when you say that, that taking data from all these touch points and championing the cause of getting the right elevator pitch. For example, you gave the South market example. Yeah. So what is this process? Can you enlighten us a little more about this process? How you go about in creating that right elevated tailored pitch, for each individual. There are like 20, 25 use cases that you mentioned.
Yes.
Okay. So can you, talk about the key pillars of putting together this right tailored pitch, and training the ISPs, at the store, to ensure that the customer feels more special and the trust is higher?
See, again, there is no set playbook, as we may say that for an EV customer this would change, but it starts with the basic ethic of sales training. And it also starts with the basic ethic of the product truths that are there at the point of the consumer. So for example, if electric vehicles are the point of sale, and the biggest myth that in today's world with EVs we are trying to bust is basically range anxiety, or let's say charging infrastructure, or let's say, talking about real world range of the product. Now, since the time you've become an inquiry, like Shashank said, it takes 32 odd days. For us, it is, for example, 28 days for an inquiry to become a retail. So what am I doing from the point of inquiry to the point of lead nurturing, to the point of customer booking, and from the booking to the retail phase, how am I keeping the customer engaged through various facets of content? That is ensuring the confidence back to the consumer is one way. At the point of the booking, how is the sales consultant reinforcing those messages? Be it via competition evangelization, be it via variant level optimization, and helping the customer make the final choice. One of the biggest enablers for us here, which we developed during COVID times, is called MG Expert. And with MG Expert, what we do is, you sit wherever in India, it's available 24/7, you come on our website, you'll have a personalized assistant, a real person. I'm not saying a chatbot, I'm not saying, some gimmicky algorithm, but a real person actually assisting you build your configuration and helping you make your decision there and then. And the good part is, whether you're a family of one, whether it's one person attending the MG Expert session or maybe 10, it's that sales consultant that is giving the entire accessibility there. Now, if you are the same customer and you're coming back on ground, you are able to populate those same configurations, you're able to get that same assisted experiences across the channels. So, in the automotive journey, one thing you need to also understand is, because of increased supply, stock aging, and inventory available at the dealerships today, what's happening is, normally, like I said, there are 3 bookings for any model line. That's an averaged out number. So you may book a Hector, you may book a competition car like a Jeep or an XUV. The moment you're getting a better delivery time, you're getting an early delivery of the car, you may land up compromising on the feature. So the gap here is, how do you keep the customer nurtured during that phase to retain the booking, becomes a key SOP even for the sales training task. It's not just the role of digital that, you bombard with content, you send WhatsApp reminders, you do nudge marketing to the customer, but how is the sales consulting championing that retention methodology with the customer so that he doesn't break off the booking is also something that needs to be championed on ground. Yeah.
I'll also add one thing in this. So I have one interesting case story for this thing. So what happened? So I have to launch one mixer grinder. Mixer grinder for so we as a company we can launch only one mixer grinder for pan India. We cannot launch different product for different zones. So for south is also same product, north, east, सभी के लिए एक ही product होगा. So what we have to do? So what we have done, we got the data, sales data, service data of south ka and north ka, and with the help of AI, we understood the VOC, voice of customer, what customer is demanding in south. So if you see south customer, so what they are preferring when they are going to buy a mixer grinder, they are asking for heavy duty mixer grinder, 750 watt ka heavy, 7 year, 10 years warranty wala product. If you see north people, Delhi people or Gurgaon people, what the look, aesthetics, very subtle colors they are looking for. South mein thoda sa loud color they are expecting. But I have only one product. I cannot keep different inventories, for different colors ka, different SKUs ka inventory I cannot carry. So what I will do, I will create a tailored sales pitch for south for the same product, different sales pitch for north. And for south, what I'll do, I'll train my in-shop promoter कि आपको ये बोलना है, you have to pitch the heavy motor in south. And for same product, I'll say my north person, you have to pitch the color, the features, the lighting, and different warranties and all these things. So here the AI plays very important role.
So I'll just add one more layer to that. So the advantage, let's say the two folks on that side would have is that all their customers walk into, let's say, own brand showrooms, if at all, you're doing it at a showroom, and the kind of, let's say, the span of control that they would have on their teams is one level off. You can say they're still employed by the showroom, but they're exclusively working for you. While in most of your cases, your customers walk into a multi-brand store, the people selling are also not on your roles, but on third-party roles. And the kind of control that you have is very low, and the kind of information you have is also like kind of non-existent, because the quantum of money that somebody is spending there, the frequency with which they're going to buy, let's say, a car or a truck, is very different from what they would kind of do in terms of looking at a mixie, even fridge, AC, any consumer durable. So how would you contrast it, saying that when a customer walks in, your seller has absolutely no information. The only thing they'll have to say is, chal deke, I'll kind of see what to talk about. So in that scenario, how do you help your seller?
I'll add one more, an additional part to it. How do you train your ISPs, to tackle such situations? Because, a brand store, they have much more understanding, much more data. But when you are in a, multi-dimensional store, the training to those folks
that
is difficult.
that is very important. And nowadays there are so many apps are available. Like we are also using in my company, we are using one app. So by using that app, you can add, the training module. So what companies are doing, they are giving product training on frequent basis. The apps are also helping a lot so you can put catalogs, the key features, processors and everything on this app. And that helps a lot to, to train the ISPs.
So when you talk about training the ISPs, the content that you create, for training the ISPs is different, because, what is the focus of the messaging and what is the focus of the content that you use, to train those ISPs?
See, the focus you're talking about in terms of product or in terms of what? The sales pitch?
Sales pitch.
Sales pitch, usually it is the unique selling feature you have to create for your product. Like I was telling, for South area, we have created the robust, heavy body of mixer grinder. The 750 watt mixer grinder or heavy product. So that kind of USPs we are creating. The company has to create. And we have to educate our ISPs, you have to highlight this thing in North, in this, in South, and in different zones. So it became a reason-specific thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The only differentiating factor that I feel here is, at least in our methodologies, need analysis. So let's say Comet EV as an example. It's a smart EV meant for urban commute only for the city commute. Now, and we are aware that, let's say, the product doesn't have fast charging. Just giving an example. So we are pitching that product based on need analysis. And, we actually, even when at the time of booking, we ask the customer, would you actually use it on the highway? Is your daily run over 200 kilometers? Do you use it for individual commute, or do you need it for a family of 2 people or 4 people? And that's the way we are helping the customer make a decision. I'm giving a EV use case particularly because range anxiety is a big concern in an EV use case. So going back to your question, when you said that how does the sales consultant, I'm talking about category agnostic, the fundamental starts with need analysis. Even when somebody is pitching Hector, so for a big SUV, which is, let's say, arguably bigger than the Honda CR-V at 50% of the cost, is it value analysis or is it convenience? What is the customer need analysis? I think we need to go back to that fundamental, even when the sales consultant is cracking that conversation. Before you reach the Manchester or the Arsenal conversation, whether, you can pitch an accessory to the customer, you first need to know that what research they have done. And in a case, and if you remember when we were chatting this, if you're my first point of contact offline, I need to start with some basic need analysis before I get into attribution, propensity or affinity that I would, start targeting to you. In offline, it becomes a little difficult that if you're coming first to the showroom before any research, that's when the need probing and analysis starts, and that's where the sales consultant actually plays a huge role in decision making.
So I think what I hear in my industry and others when I go out is that, and I like the subtext of your theme today, right? Empowering the frontline sales force with real-time intelligence, right? I think a generation ago, before the internet, discovery was a big part of what happened when somebody walked into a sales conversation, right? And it was a little bit of a dance, right? How little can I tell you, right? And how much can I get away with? I think those games are gone. I think today, we have seen our own transformation, so to speak, in our own channels of the salesperson becoming more a consultant, right? So what happens is that the more you understand about the buyer, their needs, irrespective of categories, that's what I hear in the various snippets I've picked up here, the better you are at advising them as to what is the right thing to do by them, right? I mean, if you need to grind idli atta, you need a heavier grinder than if you want to kind of grind garam masala, right? I mean, those are what drive stuff. And I think that's the transformation that I think real-time data, real-time intelligence is providing, right? If there are, I mean, we have seen those transformations. I mean, in the last 6 years, my industry has gone through 2 emission changes, 2.5 emission changes. It's gone through substantial reworking in terms of, I mean, new technologies coming in terms of fuels, electrics, CNG, LNG, you name it, right? Hydrogen, all of it's there. And I think we're entering a phase where there's a lot of questions in my customer's mind in terms of what's right for me, right? And I think that the more that we can do to empower the front line by providing them with the ability to have a conversation with the customer in terms of what's right for me, or how can this be right for me? So we had Auto Expo last year, and we had Bharat Mobility this year. We presented the same truck at both events. Last time as an advanced prototype, this time as something ready for purchase. Last time the customer said, oh, it's not for me, we'll talk about it in 3, 4, 5 years. It's nice that you have something in the pipeline. This time they're trying to imagine themselves in it and saying, how can this is the future. I can't evade it. How can I get in? And that's where our efforts at We Commercial Vehicles are to empower our frontline salespeople to have those conversations. What kind of routes can you operate? What kind of loads can you carry? What kind of gradients can you manage? What kind of runs can you do, right? And in 2 years, electrics are going to get normalized in trucking, right? They're going to do the same stuff that everybody else does, right? But this is the conversation, this is the journey, this is where the brand comes in. This is where we talk about value, right? This is where we are telling folks that, yeah, it's not the cheapest from an initial acquisition cost perspective, but here is your cost per kilometer. And oh, by the way, an electric vehicle will kind of run at ₹1 a kilometer as opposed to 10 for a diesel vehicle, right? I mean, and that's where you kind of get your trade-offs, your conversations going. So just wanted to throw that.
And adding to this thing, just 1 minute, adding to this thing, and here, the ISP versus e-commerce. So ISP plays vital role in this thing. If I have to buy a water heater, say for example, if I have to buy water heater on e-commerce, maybe I will buy a 35 liter or 50 liter water heater because the discount is very heavy. Discount is very high, and I will buy that 50 liter water. If I'll go to a LFR, kisi RR mein if I'll go, and I'll ask INSOP promoters, I need a water heater, immediately he'll ask, how many people are there in your house? And I said 3 person. Okay, so you are staying in Gurgaon, 15 liter is good enough. You do not need to buy 25 liter. See, the price is less, but if you see in long term, bill bahut zyada aayega 25 liter ka. So that is the difference. That is the difference what we were discussing thodi der pehle. What is the difference? Why a person will come to buy from a store?
That's the advantage of the personalized in-store
things.
Advice that the ISPs can provide.
ISPs can provide, yeah.
And another example related to very live with me. So around 2 years ago, so I was about to buy a car. So there was some specific XYZ contents were there that I wanted to look for. So as in person, I was very much fond of to buy the car from this brand MG Hector. But at the point of time when I moved there, so I want some specification that car should be the automatic, it should be the diesel, and mileage should be on the upper class. So, but what happened? One of the sales guy there in the Kanpur at my hometown, he followed me for 2 months, but there was a specification that was missing there in MG Hector. There was a car in diesel, but that was not the automatic. And the same time, the Hyundai guy also following me up, he was knowing what all my specifications, that was completing tick in each every box there in Hyundai Alcazar. So both the guys keep on following me, but at the end of the day, that Hyundai guy wins, and that MG guy, he's still there with the contact of mine. And after, I guess, around 1 year, 1 year later, he informed me categorically that, sir, I know you bought the car now, but let me inform you that now MG Hector is having the automatic as well and diesel also. So that is the kind of a front line that we are discussing, that the polished front line. So if there might be chance that that guy might thought of कि बंदे ने गाड़ी तो खरीद लिया है, अभी मुझे क्या करना है कॉल करके उसको. But that is the loyalty, that is the training that he telling about, that how MG builds the brand, as simple. From 2017 to today in just very few time. So that is the customer build. So next time I will definitely go for any car, but definitely I'll go to meet that guy, or will definitely visit once the MG showroom, as simple. So this is called that is the importance to train your front line.
Absolutely, that kinds of build the long-term trust and the long-term brand saliency in the mind, because they are anyways your, after digital, they are the first point of contact actually with the brand. Coming, taking a cue from here, what role, does data play in that? Because Bhagwan, you were talking about that when the ISPs are talking to the customers, they need to create those right conversations, how much it will give per kilometer, for how long, it can run, what are the different routes available. So all that is only possible if there is a right data which is there, and you are able to empower the ISPs with the right data, because then only they can make those conversations.
Sorry, before you answer, I'll just add one more layer to that, because one is the information that we have, because we say our product is improved, but the reality in the market is that when a customer walks in, today most customers do their research before walking in, irrespective of the class of product, and a judgment is made on the brand and on the showroom based on what the seller says. And so when you look at the sellers, and for example, we work with Mahindra Last Mile Mobility, and one of the biggest things that they try to tell their sellers is, boss, let me tell you what we do, but if you are kind of selling, let's say, a Bajaj product, what will you pitch it as? Because their hypothesis is that before somebody walks into this, there is a 75% chance that they walked into a competitor showroom and then walking in. So not only are your products being updated and upgraded, but the market is also moving at different points of time. So how do you kind of keep parity with all this? And how does your seller make use of this? Because every 2 months they are having to upgrade what they know about what's happening in the market.
Look, I mean, I think Shashank said this before, and I think we can reiterate it, right? I mean, the basics of kind of engaging in the sales process are fairly kind of settled, right? I mean, you need to know yourself, you need to know the environment, and I think that any good marketing function will have fairly rigorous training programs on a regular basis, right? I mean, in our industry, we also train our mechanics, because you got to keep them updated on various technologies. I mean, more or less on a continuous basis. So we have a fairly established mechanism to upskill our frontline force, whether it be sales consultants or whether they be mechanics. At the end of the day, that's where my brand hits the road, right? That's what people kind of see. That will continue. I think where things change, for instance, is for instance, I mean, let's go back 2 years, right? I mean, the price of CNG in Delhi was about 60 rupees a kilo, right? And the price of diesel in those days was about 90, right? After Ukraine happened, right? The price of CNG went up, and there was almost parity, right? And that kind of took away, so to speak, the arbitrage opportunity to kind of own CNG truck where you didn't need it for legal purposes, right? Like Delhi NCR, you need it for entry purposes, right? But you don't need it. So I think those are things that people kind of look at very carefully. I mean, those are conversations you need to have, and you advise your customer, hey, look, this is what you need. I mean, you have a choice to go for a new BS6 OBD2 engine, which also then kind of has a fairly clean signature, right? And will serve your needs as well as a CNG product, which has limitations today, either in terms of range or and those are things that I think you have to constantly keep updating. And we do that. I mean, and all of it's moved online today. So all of this data, which used to go out as a big fat sales bulletin once a month, already outdated by the time it used to get printed when I started my career. Today is sent out within a few seconds, right? I mean, and folks have it ready to go meet a customer. Okay, fine. I know the price of diesel today, and it's a big deal for my customer. Diesel represents 55, 60% of the cost of operation, right? I mean, that's a big deal. And if there's a 2% opportunity there, it's a big number, right? I mean, you can imagine how much diesel someone's buying if they're running 25,000 kilometers a month, right? And those are all things that you need to have. I mean, I hope that kind of addresses the question here. I think there are apps for salespeople. Today we have dedicated apps for our dealers. So the common view that, Shashank spoke about for customers in fleet today is available with our frontline teams. And they're able to kind of use and leverage that in their conversations, right? Of course, we kind of have the controls, and that's an important conversation to have here as well. That the data security, data privacy is important. I mean, I'll walk away a little bit careful today about whether I want to disclose as to what soccer club I kind of support, right? But I think it's an important kind of bit of information to have.
I think just one addition there is that, see, already there are sales training teams within respective OEMs. But the only differentiation is how do you map the variants. So the game is like, they were talking about 1.8 liter rice cooker versus a 1.5. Now, if somebody is coming for an X model, how do you do an apples to apples, or let's say apples to oranges via the sales training team and the actual sales consultant pitching that? Is actually perfect harmony, which everybody tries to excel, and there is obviously some noise in between when we are trying to excel that. But I think there are also dedicated planning teams within each function that are doing competition tracking. So the entire synthesis is happening from product planning, who's monitoring the competition action, from pricing to feature enrichment, moving on to sales training, and now also on sales training, I'll not name the brand, but even if we exclude automotive, let's take smartphone brands. I was standing in one of the retail stores and I was hearing how to pitch a 3,333 per month EMI smartphone, and it's all happening over WebEx. So the frequency and consistency in training is actually a game changer. Even if the absorption rate is 40-50%, and if you're doing it on a weekly basis, look at the amount of ingraining that you can do to the sales consultant. The other point you need to understand is there is very high attrition when it comes to the sales consultant. So the more the training, the more the new batches also get trained, because that churn needs to be taken care of in absolute bottom funnel conversion at the time of inquiry generation to the point of the car being retailed. I think that's something that nobody is talking about. For a job that would be 30 to 50,000 rupees, going from OEM A to OEM B is fairly easy. So how do you tackle the churn and attrition is also something that is, in hindsight, everybody is talking about excellent customer experience, but nobody is talking about attritions that happen at that point in time.
No, I think this is a major problem, Udit, that you have stated, attrition. I've spoken to a couple of industry leaders during my research also and previous panels also, that attrition is, yes, when it comes to ISPs, it's a it's a difficult task to maintain for brands, because by the time they get trained, they move from A brand to B brand. So how does it work? How do you take care of the attrition?
It become very tough. For the seasonal products like water heater or air cooler. So the window is very small. It is hardly 2 months or 3 months. For air cooler, it is hardly 3 months. एंड वहीं पे अगर आपका ISP छोड़ के चला जाता है इन एनी अदर ब्रांड्स, इट बिकम वेरी टफ टू हैंडल द सिचुएशन. Yeah, so that thing is there, that challenges companies are facing. You do not have any choice rather than paying some extra amount. So that is the only thing left with us.
Interesting, interesting. No,
So yeah. So adding to this point, so now earlier it was like, so let me give the example from my organization. So Kenstar is basically more into the coolers category. So more than 70% business derived from the cooler business only. So as Aditya said, ki cooler business is only for 3 months. So earlier we as in brand, what used to do is ki for 5 months say we are hiring temp ISPs to manage that sales across, because more than 80% sale of the entire year will tertiary will happen in this 3-4 months. So we need only the temp ISP for 4 months. So we have to train them, nurture them, we have to derive that sales, and post that we have to leave them, as simple. So every year earlier it used to be a very tough job for us. Sometime the requirements say in the season say we required say 1200 odd new ISPs, but at the time of sales we hardly ended up with the 600 peoples only, because for 3-4 months we are not able to get the ISPs. So now company thought in the different direction, so let's merge it with some more new categories. So now say example domestic appliances categories, we added the apart from cooler we added the washing machine as well, we added the refrigerator as well, and the domestic home appliances, that kitchen appliances, that is the 12-month rotational category for the consumer. So what we did now, so many of the cream stores of the across India, what we did, we are keep on training our ISP for all bunch of the products. So there will be a more strain in the month of this summer season for cooler, but apart from that, in entire journey of the year, they will be having something there in hand to sell some washing machine, to sell some refrigerator, or say some toaster or the mixer grinder. So the continuation of that ISP with the organization will make them even more smarter, make them trust towards the organization, yearly increment, their retention, their family get-togethers with them. So all those stuff making the bond even more together. So that attrition will get quite down compared to the previous years.
to create more loyalty,
More loyalty.
and
Yes,
able
absolutely.
to, yeah. So before I wrap up the session, I would love to hear all of your views on how do you see Gen AI actually playing a key role in training the ISPs, in creating a better in-store experiences with the ISPs. That we can start with you.
So I think there's a correction. Gen AI is basically generative AI, but I think the entire sales enablement process using products, in our case at least, like the MG Expert and the car configurators, are tools that are enabling decision making for the consumer, but at the same point in time channelizing the energy of the sales consultant. Like I said, AI ML has always been there, but with the GPT era, it has been democratized to any person sitting in this room, as simple as Google search. Now, how brands are basically leveraging it in contextual, implementation is basically the key differentiation. I'd mentioned a brief example to you in our quick chat. Like, we're working on a project with Google Cloud where we'll give you as natural responses for any product comparison, but muting the competitor out completely. So for example, if somebody asks me, is Nexon EV better than ZS EV? The Gen AI or the AI model that would be there, let's say conversational AI model that is there, it would just say that, I don't have sufficient information to talk about Nexon EV, but here are the reasons that you can actually consider ZS EV. So how you are contextualizing the use of AI in your sales enablement, this is one such example that we are working on. The other way of using this in terms of generative AI, in terms of image development, is whatever you're creating using the configurator and other tools as your personalized model, let's say it is Udit's personalized Hector, how am I sending that collateral back to you to give you a sense of belonging that it is already yours? So that we have integrated with, let's say, WhatsApp automation, other RCS communication channels where rich media is possibly there, to again continue nurturing with the consumer. So it's a parallel process. Sales consultant is doing his job, the lead nurturing at the OE level in terms of customer testimonials, in terms of advocacy, in terms of showing real life stories of how people have actually accomplished all of this is being there. And in the pre-purchase journey, like I said, how am I actually selling you the car? By actually telling it's already yours. So the configurator, the MG expert, and other initiatives, even like something as basic as, which nobody talks today, a home test drive or a home visit where the customer is, the sales consultant is actually putting the effort to get that lead, is something that is forgotten. But that's still a basic. You know, if you're giving somebody a home test drive, it's adding value to the overall channel. So AI has been there. My only concluding remark there is it's being democratized. How brands are contextualizing it to their benefit, it's still in a very iterative space. Thank you.
I think a couple of centuries ago, right? I think the Industrial Revolution kind of made anybody a weaver, right? Before that, a weaver was a skilled artisan, right? Who kind of had learned the trade over generations and kind of, you know, in an apprenticeship model. I think we're going to see Gen AI and AI actually kind of lift up the average, so to speak, in terms of what happens out there, right? There are a lot of examples where technology kind of comes in and helps us, right? So I think that, for instance, I mean, today, if you want to compose a letter and send it to a customer, right? You're not bound by your own constraints in terms of language and grammar, right? You can use, you know, an AI model to support you with that work, right? So once there is the desire to kind of communicate more, you can kind of get better at it and represent yourself better in that sense. So I think over time, of course, there's a contextualization, there's all the cool stuff that's happening on the technology side. That will continue. I mean, that's a journey that will continue. But what we will see over time is an upping of what I would call, so to speak, how we want to engage with customers and how that engagement is perceived and the quality of that engagement.
There are very important point to AI generate. So very first is to understand the audience. So how we understand the audience, that what all different history, demographic choices, as Aditya mentioned in detail. So the demographic choices and the budget and all those stuff. Accordingly, a sales team or a salesperson needs to pitch to the customer. It is very clear that if a person is having, say, a budget of, say, 10 lakh rupees, and if a person is pitching for a 25 lakh car, so it will be definitely that customer also feel hesitated, and there might no interest or that connect will not be there in between, as simple. So it is very important to very first 10 minutes of the customer interaction with that salesperson needs to be listened carefully by sales team. So what exactly he require, the requirement of that customer is very important. So what kind of a product he is looking for. So post that, giving through AI or through the data analysis needs the customized solution, as Shashank said. So that will be the more chances to convert that deal on an immediate basis with the satisfaction of the customer as well.
Aditya?
Yeah. So I also agree on this point. So I'll split it into two parts. So one is for end consumer and another one is for my customer. So for me as a company, my customer is my ISP. Yeah. So ISP is my first customer, and then end consumer is that is there as an end consumer. So for end consumer, yes, we need some personalized thing, like I have told you, Apple wala story, they are giving this thing, the engraved thing, and the discount, 24 month ka EMI free discount, and so many things. That is for end consumer. For coming to ISP, ISP के case में भी AI plays a very important role. You know, like if you have to sell any product, you need a story. When I'm saying a story, that is USP. So story is must. For same product for different regions, we need a story. And the story कहाँ से आता है? It comes from the data only. To utilize the data, you need to you get to know that this is the pain point. You get to know the consumer's behavior, the problem, the what we say, the voice of customer. So that you get to know. और वहीं से बनती है आपकी story that you tell to your ISP. And when a customer comes in the store, तो वही story उसको help करती to differentiate between two brands. You know, so that is my point. I think it is clear. Yeah.
So for us, where you use AI is, the first question you ask is what is the defined area that you're going to solve, problem that you're going to solve for using AI. Because what we have seen is that with AI, while the possibilities that people say can be solved are infinite, the problem has to be like razor sharp. Otherwise, it just remains a pipe dream. And the problem that we chose to address is what happens in the showroom, because again, this is where we work in, and one of the main areas that we are worried about and we try to help our customers is to say, what happens, with all the data that we have kind of, let's say, given my seller, I only have control till the data hits this seller. What happens in the conversation is an absolute black box. So it's like, it's like you go on a nice train ride and then suddenly there is a tunnel and you see nothing. Sometimes you might see light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes it just goes off and nobody in the organization knows what. And of course, when people come back, they have 100 reasons on what happened. They have their own stories on, but they were never interested, वैसे ही आए थे. They had made up their mind and you have excuses. So our question was to say, how do I, one, bring some sense of semblance to this absolute offline process today? And two, how can I use AI to ensure that this conversation that happens in an offline world, which I can, in today, unless I'm kind of really putting devices to listen to conversations, which, I don't see happening, you never know what is happening. So our question is, I see, okay, I'm going to come back to that. So especially in sales conversation, our question is to say, how can you really bridge this gap using it? For example, like what Udit was saying, one of the things that we are working on, which we, and I'm very proud to say that we're going to launch it today, is to say, how can you make this customer conversation very contextual, and how are you going to help your seller practice some of this? And how do you understand as a company what is being communicated? Because we have, let's say, a pitch book, we have a play cards, etc., where we say, if somebody asks this, ye objection aise handle karo aap. You start with this, you kind of understand the needs. But everything is a black box today, and what we have seen is that there's a lot of inputs being given. Training program hota hai, then there's an on-job training, product team comes and trains. But the reality is that, more than 50% of people don't hit their incentives. You have like very high attrition, and the expectation that, sabko sab kuch samajh mein aayega, yaad rakhenge, and then deliver it exactly at the time when a customer wants it, is like, for us, it's a pipe dream, especially given the nature where the industries are going and the kind of talent that we are getting. I mean, it's all expanding. For example, in your case, probably people jump for like 3,000, 4,000 rupees a month. In CD, we've seen people jump for like 200, 300 rupees a month. So it's like, and you have enough companies that you can make a career out of jumping every 6 months. So given that that's the reality, how can we use AI to ensure that we bridge the gap is what I think we are looking at solving here. So.
Very interesting, Arun. I believe, we can continue this discussion, for another hour, okay, because I believe everybody has a lot of viewpoints, a lot of case studies and a lot of examples to share, but I think we'll have to stop now. But extremely interesting insights and extremely interesting thoughts, presented by all of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. Thank you very much.
But I would still request Devesh to open the discussion for a Q&A for, we can take a couple of questions from the audience. If you just raise your hand, the mic comes to you, please.
Please. There is a gentleman at the back. Please introduce yourself and, just address the person who you want to answer.
Hi, good evening, esteemed panel guest. So my name is Govind Sharma. I am CMO for KEI, and I have worked with brands like Nokia, Samsung, Sony, LG, and Whirlpool in past at leadership roles. in my own experience, whenever we collect consumer data, it looks very fancy at corporate level. It definitely helps for making certain decision making, and you can have bird's eye view, take certain decisions sitting at corporate office, making your own strategies. But when it comes to the retail shop experience where your ISDs has to face consumer, what kind of real intelligence we can showcase to them? The training model which you have talked about, definitely it can be enhanced through AI, and you can have, you can artificially even replace the person in future where end consumer can come interact with the AI chatbot or somebody and they can give the precise answer to their queries. But my question to the entire panel is, how in today's time where we have data privacy law kicks in, we provide real-time intelligence data of consumers' need? Because the moment consumer walks in, let's say one example could be, we ask to say, I am a retail sales guy and I'm asking consumer, what is your mobile number? I type in my mobile number and I get certain insights about the consumer. It could be maybe the search history which he has made over Google or YouTube, the kind of research he has done by his own. Are we seeing that in reality in near future where my retail sales guy is well informed about what kind of preferences consumer would have and then articulate my discussion with consumers accordingly? So if you can throw any lights or insights about that, it will be helpful. Thank you.
Interesting. Yeah, Udit.
So hi, thank you for the question. But this is already happening in certain scenarios. Specifically in our case, now while I cannot tell what you've browsed on Google and YouTube per se, but if we take our website first party data, we take like let's say a data provider or a semi-telco provider to give us second party data, we can amalgamate that data to give you, at least at the head office, like you said, have valuable insights before even pitching you or targeting your product. So it's not just about the data that you are acquiring, but how are you enriching that data that you have today where that customer is already making so many other purchases. There may be a, let's say, apparel brand transaction that is happening. There are watches that are being purchased. So there are other places where you get lifetime value data of customers, and the affinities and the particular preferences of the customer is enriched in that data set. Now, how are you amalgamating that particular data to, let's say, carve out a campaign for you or your sales consultant offline could be one of the strategies. Second thing, on the data protection bill that is there, which will eventually come into force. First thing is, when you are collecting PII, you should have a consent mechanism or a global subscribe unsubscribe mechanism where every 3 months, ideally, I don't know how many of the players are actually doing it, including automotive players, that 3 months could be a good frequency to take reconsent. Now, for example, if I am a lead today, in 30 days my retail car buying decision is already over, and I am still in your audience pool. I am a redundant person and I am of no value into your audience pool. So taking reconsent and structuring your records in terms of consent is really important. The repercussions even for call center calling and other stuff will come into force if we are trying to, let's say, work without a consent mechanism even when the data protection bill is coming into play. Thank you.
Just a follow-up question to the gentleman before me. I'm Hemant Chauhan from Dyson. I think this is more of a comment, not really a question. Whenever we are articulating some kind of a training program for the field force, sometimes we tend to over-intellectualize and overthink. And I think there is a difference between what we are thinking at the head office and the person at the ground level or at the shop floor. One of my small input here is that what is the feedback mechanism? What are you learning from the shop floor? Because he's worked with multiple brands, he's become much more smarter in terms of dealing with the consumer, identifying. A lot of people said, we need to be able to identify the need and probe and understand. See, it is a very, very intuitive process. Lot of times, product managers, brand managers, they give them a list of, checklist, telltale signs. If he does this, if he does that, doesn't work. I mean, my own experience kind of tells me I have learned more from the shop floor than what we initially thought that we know. And we are a lot of times surprised by their own intuitive intelligence at the shop floor, dealing with the consumer, dealing with the different situations, than we can even foresee. So, just a small comment, how are we learning back from them? That's all.
I think it's a great comment, and ultimately, the Japanese Gemba is what matters, right? I mean, that's where the action happens, and I think we have a lost sales review process, right? It's easier for us to do because the pool is smaller, right? In our industry, it's not the millions of machines sold; it's a few 100,000. So I think it works well. And there too, I think it's important to kind of have that done regularly and exclude obvious red herrings, right? I mean, the first thing somebody tell you when they can't make a sale is that, I couldn't match price, right? But it's seldom that, right? I mean, and the trick is to basically then kind of iterate it and get to a point, what would it be if it were not price, right? And then try to get to that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a great point, needs to be done more of.
Yeah, hi. My name is Haider Khan. I am the CEO of Godavari Motors with 30 years experience in Mahindra, Tata, Bajaj, Piaggio. So I have one question. First of all, thank you for your great insights. See, how important is leakage analysis being analyzed through AI? And how do you use the leakage analysis data to refine or improve your sales process in the current scenario?
Very important. I think all of us would have different answers to the question. I think it's important how we would do it or what we would put into that decision engine, right? What the data set that we'd put into the decision engine would be different for each of us. But I think that, it's an important thing to do.
I think we'll end the Q&A round
So maybe I just
now.
want to add to that.
Sure.
Can I just quickly address that and then we'll take the last question? Sure. Yeah. See, the question with data leakage, I think a lot of our customers have tried. On your lost opportunity, on your sales leakage, conversion leakage, let's say. So one of the things that a lot of our customers have tried to do this, and the core problem that they've seen is what is the kind of data that you're given in terms of attributing what it is. Because a lot of times customers, one thing is to say, hey, can I go to the customer and ask for a reason? Most customers are not going to give you a genuine reason, even if they are ready to engage with you. And the other aspect is when you ask your salesperson, they look at it like, boss, you're pushing me to the corner and I'll kind of give a reason which is mostly acceptable. I might have my thoughts, but I'll say, if I give these two reasons, they don't question me. If I say, competition ka wo le liya because of feature better hai, then you also can't do anything. In the short run, there's nothing that the OEM can do. So that's a assumedly acceptable reason. So the problem there is the analytics tools is never really the issue, but the attribution in terms of what are you really able to get the insights from the ground? How does ground insight translate to data? That's a big fall off from whatever we've seen. So
one more addition to this is, let's say if your leakage percentage trend line, let's say if you're doing a trend line analysis or regression on leakage percentage over a period, let's say it was 10% for the last 5 years, and all of a sudden it has spiked to 25%. That is the point when you actually need to do an intervention if it's above benchmark or let's say below benchmark, and you need to get into that particular rationale that, let's say, why is this additional leakage coming? Is it due to a genuine proposition, let's say a new product launch that is eroding my product at this stage, or is it some other reason? Is it, let's say, even network expansion? I'm just giving an example because you belong to the agency. If you talk about width and depth expansion, and if there are new touch points being propagated within your key sales area, can that be a cause of erosion? So one is, obviously there is legacy benchmarking that you can do at organization level, also at dealership level per se, to say this was my leakage pattern, this variance is acceptable. But if it's going beyond the variance level, then is when the decision making, the face-to-face surveys, or the analysis of data regression comes into place, say, whether it's a jugadu response that the guy is actually giving you, or whether you actually look into something more to come at a consensus.
I think we'll close it at that.
Yeah.
I think the last comment was very nice. You wore chappals and went in. That's why they said no dreams come true unless until you get up and go to work. But there's another story to your answer to your question is the light at the end of the tunnel might not be a pot of gold. It could be an oncoming train as well.
I wish my salesman can understand all this and make a bounty out.
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. I think for all the panelists on stage, let's have a tremendous applause, please. I think they truly believe in what Gandhiji used to say. Great people are not known by the looks they have or the clothes they wear. They're known by the deeds they do. I think they have satisfied that craving in our mind to learn something. And I was looking at the thunderous applause. We got some of it. Thank you so much. I now request Devesh to present a memento each to all the panelists, please. First to Mr. Aditya Singh Chauhan. Aditya sir. I think we could do the needful now and have a humongous applause for the panelists, please. To Bhagwan sir. Aditya is not smiling also, he's gone serious. Yeah. A smile travels a mile, so let's have a big smile for a picture, please. Absolutely. Shailendra sir. Udit sir. And now presenting a memento to a man who's almost kept quiet for better half of it, and I will only say, हर शख्स की पहचान उसकी सूरत से होती है, पर माशाल्लाह खूबसूरत बात ये इस खामोशी की भी जुबान होती है. Silence is golden, but he spoke really well, whatever he spoke. Arun sir. He is the man behind the event, so that's why I was summing it up with that line. A group picture, please. Pictures worth 1,000 words. We'll not take the pictures till we have a smiling picture, please. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next agenda item is a keynote address by Arun Subramaniam, co-founder SharpSell.ai, on perpetuating a culture of sales excellence, fostering transformative data-driven sales strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have a great round of applause for Arun Subramaniam, please? I'm your host, Madhukar Malhotra, thanking all of you once again. And please stay tuned, we have a lot more coming up. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Madhukar. So, I think I'll add one more point to what you were talking about. Is one of the other things that we also we intentionally left out because there are a lot of things to talk. Is what is the kind of people who end up coming to a sales job? Because I mean, you ask anybody, all of us, most of us have kids, and nobody says, "Boss, I want to be a seller." Everybody wants to become doctor, engineer, businessman, whatnot. But most people who end up, in our sales force, probably studied BCom, BA, did some degree, didn't know what to do in life, and then say, "हाँ, कुछ नौकरी चाहिए, क्या नौकरी मिलेगा, sales job मिलेगा, so I'm here." So that's the reality with which most of our organizations operate, where, I don't have, I don't really get like absolutely committed people who dream about selling my product out there. And what we've seen is a lot of these sellers, just drop by the wayside. They just kind of manage to hang on, and about 5-10% of people really succeed. And most of us don't really care about them because they are good. They're going to succeed anyway. But what we are really worried about is the long tail of like 80-85% of people who are neither in nor out, who are just hanging there, who we pin our hopes on, and there's a lot of hope running behind. And what we have done as part of that is to launch something called PitchWiz to kind of exactly help this part. So I'll quickly walk you through what PitchWiz is. So the idea of PitchWiz is like what we discussed. There's this blur that happens, at the moment of truth. no data, no information. It's just a word of mouth. I believe what happened there. Either if it gets converted, then everybody is happy because something good happened. And that there also, we don't know whether the product worked, the selling worked, convincing worked. And if it goes off, again, the attribution is a difficult thing. So what we have kind of looked at doing, in addition to a lot of other things that we do, is to figure out how do you kind of enable this seller to come across as an expert. Because when we kind of, initially we did a lot of work with CXO, CEOs, did some strategy consulting, etc. And when we started working with people on the front line, the ask was that, yeah, why don't you help them learn? So we said we'll do mobile learning. We did this for 2-3 days, and after that people stopped doing it. And when we went on the field and asked why, people are like, yaar, gyan mat do. I don't really care about what you're doing. And we said then this is the reality, and what we realized was people wanted immediate gratification. So if you could help them get something today, tomorrow, then you are like super cool. Otherwise you are like, for lack of a better word, you are one of those corporate agents who's trying to dump some agenda on their head. And people on the field, I don't know if how many of us will agree with this, is they always have, people there want to have a common enemy, and that common enemy is corporate. It's like, because they have issues with products, they have issues with systems, they have issues with how discounts are authorized, they have issues with how their incentives are calculated, they don't have information till last date on what this, so they have 100 queries, 100 issues, and a lot of them are true. So the moment we get another initiative to them and say, ye bhi aapko kaam aayega, they don't trust us. And their outlook is very, very different. So with this reality in mind, so what we have done is to say, how can you get this done? So without further ado, I'm going to quickly run to what PitchWiz really does. Yeah. One second, so I'm going to. Yeah. Okay, so is my screen there? Yes. So I think what we do as PitchWiz is fairly straightforward. So the idea of PitchWiz is that how can you ensure that your seller is able to handle conversations happening on the field where you can't really prepare them for, because the customer could come in with any mindset, customer can come in with any expectation, customer can walk in with any level of knowledge. So they are absolutely thrown into the deep end. So given that they are thrown into the deep end, how are you really equipping them to handle that? We say you can, giving them more information, giving them more knowledge is, for us, a very small part of the equation that almost always has very small returns. So what we do in PitchWiz is, let's say I'm going to take an example. So let's say that a customer walks in. I'm going to take 2 examples, one from consumer durable and one from auto. Let's say that I want my seller to explain what an inverter AC is, because today everybody has inverter ACs, it's costly. So what I'll do is I'll say, as part of this description, you say customer has walked into the showroom and is interested in buying an AC. They're confused between normal and inverter AC. Help them understand why inverter AC is better. So question is, do you even understand the concept of what an inverter AC is? And I say, as part of it, there are some 5 important points that you should know. You should say, inverter AC ka variable speed hota hai. It consumes less power. It gets the temperature faster. It operates quietly and reduces wear and tear. So I'll just have to tell these things so that customer knows what it is. And I also can measure them on skills. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say, I'm going to quickly start this. And when I start this, you'll see that I'm starting a conversation. So I'll start this saying, hello ma'am, I think it's glad that you're looking at our AC. So I just wanted to understand if, we have 2 models, 1.2 ton and 1 ton, and I just want to understand what will be your use case so that I can suggest the right AC within the models that you can see here. So let's say I've started with this conversation, somebody's walked in, and the moment I hit submit, you'll see that there's a submit button at the bottom. You'll see that my conversation is absorbed and my AI is going to respond back as a customer. So here you see that it's processing and immediately you get a feedback, and I'm just going to play this here.
Sure, I mainly need the AC for my bedroom and living room. Could you please explain the difference in cooling and why there is such a high price difference between models?
So was this audible? So the customer says, boss, tell me what is the difference in cooling and why is there such a price difference? So I'll say, ma'am, there is actually no difference in cooling between inverter and non-inverter ACs, but it's just that inverter AC will cool your room faster, and it also kind of gives you a lot of advantages with respect to cost saving overall, because inverter AC consumes less electricity than a non-inverter AC. So let's say I've covered this point. Now I'm kind of, so what I'm really doing is instead of asking them to give me a fab saying, hey, tell me the feature, tell me the benefit, the reality is the customer never listens to fab in the order that we have taught them. The customer, the moment you started, customer will stop you and say, boss, no, answer this question. And the answer to that question will probably come in the 3rd minute of your pitch. And this person doesn't know how to cut to the chase and get to the 3rd minute immediately. So that's where something like this helps. For example, let's say.
I see. So it's more about energy efficiency. How about the star rating? Does it also impact the electricity consumption and cost?
So the customer says, because I've also been hearing about star rating, and you're saying inverter is less, so is this any different? Then I'll say, yes, ma'am, star rating and inverter AC are 2 separate things. So you have star rating in both normal AC and inverter AC. But overall, for the same similar star rated AC, inverter AC kind of works out much better in terms of cost. Also, the life of inverter AC is much better because, it has like better efficiency, and it also runs quite, it gives you a quiet running experience and is not very noisy. So I hope I've been able to answer your queries. So let's say I'm kind of taking this conversation and let's say, for example, I'm concluding this. So what will happen right after this is that I'm going to have my response, and because this is AI enabled, your seller is going to get an immediate feedback on what really happened on the ground. So for example, in this case.
Yes, you explained quite well. However, I still need time to think it over considering the high upfront cost. I'll revisit the options in 2 days. Thank you for your patience.
So this is done. So now I'm supposed to pitch this product, or I was supposed to handle this, but instead of me vomiting everything that I'm kind of mugged up, I'm kind of answering specific customer questions. Some of them will be very direct. Some of them customer comes with their own biases and understanding. So how are you able to navigate that is the real question. So same way, for example, if I kind of, jump to something like, let's say, a pitch of a customer where the customer says, I'm looking at an XUV 700. You say, what is this? And here it says, how would you pitch this? So let's say I'll start this conversation with saying, hello ma'am, this is Arun here. Glad that you have chosen XUV 700 as the car of your choice. So I'm just trying to understand what is the exact use case that you have, and at what purpose will you be using this car? So now what I'm doing is, let's say it's a walk-in customer. I've already set the context. So what will happen is that there will be a feedback that I'm going to get based on what I've set the AI to behave as. So for instance.
Hello Arun, I already have a small car actually. I'm looking to buy a larger vehicle that can accommodate my family comfortably during long road trips and in city traffic too.
Yeah. Oh sure ma'am, then you made an excellent choice in choosing XUV, and especially for your long trips and the safety of your family, we offer a lot of safety features including ADAS, where there are a lot of these connected features including automatic cruise control. There's emergency brake assist where in case somebody walks in between, or there's some some vehicle that suddenly brakes, the vehicle will brake automatically, and I think that's going to be something that we value for you as customer and you would value for your family. So what I'm really doing is that I'm saying that what does the customer want? If the customer said, you know what, I'm looking for something powerful, then me talking about ADAS, etc. is really not important. So what the AI does is to emulate specific customer personas, and the expectation is that are you able to kind of navigate all this. So maybe I'll just complete
That's intriguing, Arun. But how does XUV 700 distinguish itself from the Tata Safari, which also offers similar features? I'm looking for a clear distinction between these 2 models.
Yeah. So now customer says, but Safari ka kya hai? Because similar things. So now I can respond, ma'am, I think Safari is also a good car, but I think XUV is a pioneer in a lot of these features. And by the way, we also have petrol options available in XUV if you want, while Safari only comes with diesel variants. And a lot of these advanced features that we speak about may not be available in Safari. So I've kind of responded. Question is, have I responded enough? Have I covered all the points? That's something that we can set. You say, boss, when somebody talks about Safari, then what are the 4 points that you want to talk about? Because, are we going to talk about price? Are you going to talk about availability? For example, XUV may not be able to talk about availability. It's not like saying, ma'am, unka waiting time 3 mahina hai, hum to ek hi mahine mein denge. You can't say that. So that's not a point. But question is, what are the points that you can say at this point of time? Same way, for example.
That's good to know, Arun. Could you tell me more about the different variants of XUV 700 and how they compare to each other? Also, can we discuss service packages?
So the customer is asking specific questions, and I say, sure ma'am, I think there are about, if you look at petrol and diesel, there there are about 5 variants, and you get features that keep increasing based on the variant trim that you choose, and you also get them in multiple colors. So maybe I can just share a quick tour of the showroom and show you some colors that we have, and maybe I can also share the other color options that you have, that you'll be able to take. So what I'm really doing is, now that I'm kind of completing this conversation where I say, hey, customer has asked for something, I've told something. So far you'll see that there is no response saying ki bhai aapne sahi kiya, galat kiya, why did you do this, why did you not do this? Because a customer is never going to give you an assessment on your face. The customer at the end of the day will walk away smiling. The real truth is whether they end up giving you your money or not. And here we say that's the same way that this is going to work. So
Thank you for the information, Arun. I think I have enough details for now. I'd like to schedule a test drive next week. Let's proceed with that.
So the customer has said, I've asked for a test drive. Does it mean they are happy with you? Does it mean you have done a good job? This happens in the field also, where customer will say test drive, customer will, but what happened to this conversation? This is what we are interested in. So now what I do is I go to this thing called reviewed. So you'll see that as part of my review, I have kind of, so I think I have, the review gets generated, but what really happens in the review is 2 things. So first is I get a score saying, hey, your score is so and so. As part of this, I'm rating you as 3.5. This is something that organizations configure. And once you do this, you also get a feedback saying your pitch was concise and clear, Arun. Now your explanation could be more detailed. So it tells me what worked in the pitch and what did not work in the pitch. And more specifically, you see that I've asked for, I said there are 6 points that are important to be covered. That's what we expect you to do. And I'll see that in this conversation, you have kind of covered the first point. You have kind of partially covered the second one. You have not covered the third one, and so on. So while you have handled the conversation, the customer has walked out. Did they really hear what we wanted them to hear? In this case, more often than not, no. And I also get an assessment on what my different skill sets are, because every organization has their own competency mapping. So we say, let's get your competency mapping and give you an assessment of where this specific seller stands with respect to this specific conversation. So I think this is something, and you also get some conversation intelligence on how quickly are they speaking. For example, I'm doing it real fast because I'm standing here in front of the audience. But typically a good word rate, for a normal conversation would be about 100 to 120 words per minute. If you're talking about 100 to 120 words per minute, that's a conversation that most people understand, and this is the pace at which 100 to 120 falls. But what I'm doing is speaking very fast, also because the audience here can grasp at my pace. But is that something that we can assume on the shop floor? Answer is probably no. So this is something that PitchWiz really does, and the idea is that with some of our customers, they say for every new product, if I were to certify somebody, the earlier process of certification was I'll certify them on Fab. I'll say, do you know the features, do you know the benefits? But today what some of our clients are doing is to say, if you clear 5 role plays on the product, then you are certified. What are those 5 role plays? The first one is going to be about what the product features are. The second one is going to be about how does my product feature compare to the nearest product that we already have? Or how does it fit between the range that we have? Are you able to compare and contrast with some of our other products? The third, fourth, and fifth are going to be, how are you going to handle specific objections? So first is going to be objection with your nearest competitor in the market. Second is going to be objection with respect to price. Third is going to be objection with respect to the relevance of feature to the customer. So we say if you can cover the base of these 5 axes, then you know how to go and talk about this product. Then I say I'm going to stamp you as saying you understand what to do. So this is something that we've worked on, and the best part about this is that you can actually configure a lot of this. For example, let's say if I'm going here, sorry about this. Sorry, while this loads, I think the idea is that you can configure the PitchWiz based on your specific products and your specific competencies and your specific reality, because you understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you, what are the challenges that your team is facing, what are the challenges that your product is facing. So the idea here is that instead of us telling you how some of these role plays should happen, we say you kind of configure. For example, in this case, let's say I start with saying what is role play name, how do you want to describe it? then we say, what is the customer persona? In this case, let's say I'm saying you're a 30-year-old female, you define what the customer persona is. Same way, for example, you define what the difficulty level is. For example, in this case, I say, I want this conversation to, I want the customer to be, very irritated. In this case, you can say, I'm sorry, I'll just say, in this case, you say, I can just look at this drop down and say the customer should be very irritated. Customer should be indifferent. So I can even define what the customer mood is, and I can kind of go about, for example, I can talk about, different personas that my AI can take. I can also talk about saying, how am I setting up my evaluation? Which competencies am I mapping? For example, I say, I have product sales. Now I say, I also want to understand empathy. Then you say, you just select empathy, and now empathy is going to be added. What are the points to be covered that you saw? You configure it based on your specific product scenario. And then the best part about this is that we say, as part of this, you can use this as a learning tool, which means what I showed you in terms of points to be covered, what is your rating, how did you hunch on the skill, etc. would be shown. But if you want to use this as an assessment tool, where I say this is a test box, I've already given you all the insights. The only thing I'm interested in is see how you perform. Then what you do is, in an assessment mode, you say, I'm going to remove all this. So you have the flexibility to even say, your assessment hai, but I want to still show them the points to be covered because I don't want to be so brutal. Or you say, I don't want to show it, the option is yours. So you can kind of disable everything, and this becomes an absolute assessment mode where the assessment is administered. Once you're done, it says, thanks a lot, you're done with it, and we get the report on where people are doing. And the best part about this is you can also bring in your own context. For example, let's say, let's say there's some gentleman from Dyson. So let's say the question could be saying, but boss, hair dryer 1000 rupees mein bhi milta hai. So you can, one is to say, boss, then you're not at all my customer because my customers don't ever come and ask me for 1000 rupee hair dryer. But you might still want to respond to it saying, hey, how do I kind of make the AI ask some of this, insert some of these customer feelings as part of this conversation. So here you can even go in and say, hey, as part of second conversation, add this point, talk about saying, how does this compare to a 1000 rupee dryer? So the good thing is you can insert your context, and the whole idea is that you can make it absolutely flexible and work for your specific audience and your specific context. So, so we're very happy to launch this today, and one of the things that we also want to do today is that in case some of you want to explore this, one is of course we have these standard pitch quizzes that we can try out. But if you want to go deep and you say, Arun, but will it work in my context? Can I kind of configure something for myself? We say there's also an option to configure your own pitch quiz, where we have our teams sitting around. So you have Abhijit there, you'll have Disha there. You can kind of reach out to me, where we'll kind of, in like 5 minutes, we'll set up your context. You can kind of test it out right here, right then on, whether it works in your context, and then go out knowing what it is, experience it, and take this over. So I think I just wanted to take this opportunity and this audience around with us to launch PitchWiz from Sharpsell. So thanks a lot, everyone, for your time. Hope you found this interesting. We are super excited about the possibilities, and I think one common question that would come, but I'm expecting, which I'll preempt, is that, hey, is this available in regional languages? Answer is, today it's there in English on launch, but in another 2 weeks you're also going to get Hindi and Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi in this order as we keep going along. So I think that's it from our side. So thanks a lot, and hope you had fun, and we'll probably catch up outside over dinner. Thanks.
So thank you, Arun, for your exciting and insightful content. And I hope you all had a wonderful time and were able to maximize the opportunity to learn real time from leading industry experts and gain practical insights. Can we have a round of applause for all of them, please?